Welcome to Limitless, the Blind Beginnings podcast where we discuss tips, tricks, and current topics related to all things in the blind and partially sighted community. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the founder of Blind Beginnings and your host, Shawn Marcellet, and whatever co-host is on this week. Now, here's your host, Shawn.
I'm Shawn Marcellet, and you're listening to Limitless, the Blind Beginnings podcast. And my co-host today is Nika. Hey, Nika, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Shawn?
I'm good. So today we're talking to an awesome guest about independent living skills. And I'm just curious, what your thoughts are on independent living skills for people who are blind or partially sighted, Nika?
My independent living skills are kind of terrible. I mean, starting university this year, for lunch, for example, with cooking, I would either eat what my parents made me or I'd go to the cafeteria and pay stupid amounts of money for lunch, which was really unnecessary.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I started university and I would live on bagels pretty much every day. So I can relate. So
oh my God, my poor wallet.
So you're planning on attending Jill's workshop?
Yes, because I need serious help. I am legitimately starting from basically ground zero at this point.
I hear ya. So today we're talking with Jill Sloane, and she is a longtime Blind Beginnings youth mentor. And this summer, Jill's going to lead a workshop for our teens on independent living skills. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you. I'm really excited for the program.
Yeah. So why independent living skills? Why did you want to do this?
So I moved from a small northern BC town to the lower mainland. And for me, the only way I could do that was because I had a lot of the independent life skills, like cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc., that you need to be able to live independently on your own, because my family was over 15 hours away from me. So I couldn't just ask them to stop by and help me out with certain things. I could FaceTime them, which was and is still very, very helpful. But day to day, I don't want to FaceTime them 80 times asking for stuff. So the life skills I got taught mainly in high school from a special, or what are they called? Life skills instructor, yeah. And when I moved to Vancouver, I met a lot of visually impaired or blind friends who didn't have the life skills in high school like I did. And that really shocked me because I assumed if I had those skills in high school in a small little random town, that a big city should have that in their school system as well. So I was really shocked to find that out. And then also a lot of my blind or visually impaired friends have expressed to me wanting to move out on their own, but they don't really have those specific skills you need.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of surprised by that because I had also lost my sight later on in life. So I learned all these skills probably within from grade 10 to grade 12 in school. And then everything else I learned from my parents or just by trying it myself, which sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. But yeah, I don't know. I just was really surprised that a lot of my friends didn't have those skills or really expressed wanting them, but wasn't very accessible or wasn't an option for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where all this stemmed from, is just I had these skills and that's how I was able to move away and live on my own, go to university. And I just want to give that to them if I can.
So Nika, can you relate to what Jill's talking about with life skills?
Not in the same experience that I've had them, because in high school, I've had a couple of kind of life skills training things with my O&M teacher and my vision teacher, but even those were very rudimentary skills, and I would have to fight tooth and nail to even be able to get a session in a kitchen to actually try out a recipe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely wasn't something I learned until I actually moved out. And by then, it's kind of you're already in, you got to survive. And if you don't really know how to feed yourself, you're eating a lot of not necessarily healthy stuff.
And this is where the freshman 15 comes from.
Yeah, that's part of it for sure. And I know for me, my parents didn't my mom's an amazing cook, but she didn't necessarily know how to teach somebody who was visually impaired. And she would sometimes try to get me started on doing something, and then she'd take over because maybe I was doing it wrong or I was making a mess or whatever. But
Too
it was
slow.
like, I'll just do it and I'll tell you what I'm doing. But that doesn't really work when you can't see.
Especially when you can't see. Like, you need that hands-on aspect of it, right? Like, they can explain all they want, but like, you're not going to understand every single thing they're saying unless you feel it, because we see by feeling things, right? So
yeah. So what sorts of things are you going to teach us in this workshop?
The ones I'm really excited for are labeling, whether it's like your microwave, your stove and oven, your washer and dryer, or even just like your medicine, for example, or like if you have books or movies, like just how to label all of those and the different ways of labeling, because there's a lot more than people realize. So I'm really excited for that one. The other one I'm really excited for, and I'm not quite sure why, is anything to do with laundry, whether it's like, again, sorting your clothes and why, like how to use a color identifier, because to me that's really important, and like how to load and unload and like organize your clothes and tell them apart in your closet, and like everything to do with laundry. I'm excited for that one. I don't really know why.
See, I get that, because like laundry, I weirdly have an obsession with that as well.
Yeah, and like, I don't know, it's just something out of the list that I had kind of come up with, that was the one I was really excited about too. And then we're also talking about making drinks, whether it's making juice or hot chocolate or tea or a smoothie or a milkshake, like kind of how to make those and what goes into each of those, and how to pour hot water or measure hot water, because that can be a little scary when you first do it.
Yeah,
so little things like
water
that
still scares me so much.
And like, but the nicest thing ever is there's a lot of tricks for that, so you don't necessarily have to touch the water. So that'll be something I'm talking about in one of the weeks. And another one that I kind of have learned and taught myself was how to cook in the microwave. Like, you can cook pasta in the microwave, you can cook eggs in the microwave, like you can cook so many things in the microwave. Tends to be a lot easier if you're a little scared of the stove, but it's also typically less cleanup and less dishes. So it's kind of ideal for that.
Right. So how did you teach yourself how to cook in the microwave? Did you just experiment and throw stuff in there and see what happens?
For eggs, I had my boyfriend actually told me that he had done it when he was younger. When he was going to like a high school or elementary school or whatever it was, and wanted breakfast, you just crack egg in a bowl, throw it in the microwave, and then like pretty much one egg is cooked for 1 minute, 2 eggs for 2 minutes, like that kind of thing.
Oh, that's easy.
And it's so easy. It's one dish that you can cook and eat out of, because why not? Like, there's no cross contamination. There's nothing like that. And then you can put whatever you want in it. So I kind of took the egg one step further and made an omelet in the microwave. So
awesome.
I cooked bacon, which you can also cook in the microwave, by the way, and like whatever, like green onions and mushrooms and peppers, whatever I wanted in the omelet. And my roommate had a plate that had higher sides. So I just dumped the omelet mixture in there, threw it in the microwave, and I've never made a more perfectly round omelet in my life. I'm so proud of myself. And then even like pasta, I was making craft dinner because I'm a poor university student. And I don't know, my roommate was reading the box for some reason. I don't really know why. And it said on there that you could cook it in the microwave. So she just told me what the instructions said, and I just did it, and it worked so well. And again, it's just one more, like, you don't need a strainer, you don't need a pot, it's just one bowl. It's so nice. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Cool. It seems kind of a weird concept to cook in the microwave, but like I said, it's really easy. It's a lot less cleanup, so it's kind of ideal.
You had me at only one dish to clean up.
Right? And especially like when you come home from school or work, or like if you're not a morning person, but you want a quick breakfast, like it's so nice just to not have to deal with the hassle of the stove and like doing all the dishes and whatever, right? Like it's nice and easy. And that's what I really like about cooking in the microwave. Although it does sound like a very weird concept, but
I think I'm going to try the egg thing tomorrow. That's pretty brilliant.
I want a perfectly round omelet.
I was so I was like ridiculously excited about that because it was like the perfect thickness. It was so beautifully round. I was just so proud.
I have tried to make an omelet in a frying pan, and flipping it is a disaster.
See, but the nice thing is you don't actually have to flip it if you don't want to. You could just put a lid on the pan.
Right.
So then it cooks on both sides.
Oh,
There's
you
a
got
lot of tricks.
Everything. I love it.
A lot of practice and just playing around. For me,
so,
in a
Nika,
comfortable setting.
What are you the most excited to learn in Jill's workshop?
I'm really excited to learn kind of like basic snacks because usually I just eat kind of grab and go things. I mean, even as of now that we're recording, I have a bowl of Sun Chips beside me, which is not ideal.
Yeah, I ate a lot of cheese and crackers. That's pretty.
Man.
Oh, that's the
same here.
Popcorn, just bags of popcorn.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, actually, speaking of the microwave and popcorn, that just made me think of this. Like, I know microwaves have buttons for everything. Like, there is a popcorn button. I don't even know what the other buttons are because I can't see them. But how do you know how much time things take? Is that like, do you Google or how do you figure that out?
Honestly, I just hit and miss, to be honest. For some weird reason in my head, I always start out with like a minute and 45 seconds. I don't know where that came from, but for some reason it's a thing. So I always start out with that. And like I said, for the egg, typically if you do one egg, you put it in there for a minute, 2 eggs, 2 minutes, on and on, right?
Yeah.
And what I do to make sure it's cooked is like, because obviously when you crack an egg, it's kind of slimy and gross. But as it cooks, it gets more firm and like jiggly, I guess.
Coagulation, it's called. I remember that from grade 8 home ec.
Wow, I've never heard that word in my life.
I think it's the biggest word I know.
I'm very impressed with that one.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, so I just start out usually with a minute and a half, and then like whatever if I'm warming something up or cooking it, I'll just kind of poke it or stir it around and then poke it.
I actually listen to the sound of the crackling and popping inside the microwave too. And when there's too much of that, I usually just stop it and pull it out.
Oh my God. The funniest thing ever. So I was cooking an egg in the microwave, or no, I think it was an omelet, and I mixed like the cheese in with all the other ingredients. But I guess the cheese and the egg, as it was cooking, kind of formed a bubble somehow. Didn't know that was going to happen. And I just hear this big pop. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? And it was fine. The bubble popped. It didn't explode, or the food stayed in the pan or the plate. It was just like, oh, so like, that's the thing with cooking. There's always going to be, especially like being blind or visually impaired, there'll be a lot of sounds that like you might not be used to that kind of freak you out.
Yes.
Or like even cooking bacon, whether in the stove in the oven, or you can cook it in the microwave. Of course it's bacon. It's going to sizzle like crazy, right? But that tends to be a good thing because it means it's cooking, right? But it can be a little intimidating because it's so noisy and like scary and weird. But I don't know. But you're right. Where like there's certain foods that like even if you're making a bag of popcorn, the more it pops, you're getting a lot of popcorn. Like it's working out just fine, right? So.
Yeah. I had a cooking disaster in the microwave when I was a teenager. I put a can of ravioli in there.
Oh no.
Which was meant for the microwave, but it had this metal lid you were supposed to remove that was underneath the plastic lid.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know that. And it just exploded all over the inside. Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Very, very messy. Have you ever had a cooking disaster, Jill?
Yeah, I've had a few. I think the one that I think is the most funny for some reason is my sister and I and one of our friends were making a smoothie in the blender. And there's just some blenders have this little thing on the top of the lid that you can pull off and add a few more things if you needed to. And I guess that little piece wasn't on properly. And when we turned the blender on, it like blew off the top. So we had and like it exploded all over the counter. We had smoothie all over the place. So the three of us just grabbed straws and drank it off the counter because we didn't want to waste it.
Of course.
And it was like, I don't know, we just didn't want to waste it. So what better way to clean up than drink it with a straw off the counter? So
that's great.
That was a really funny one.
Oh my God. I broke a blender once. That was
Oh
not
no.
Oh no.
because apparently not all blenders can process nuts like a Vitamix blender.
Ooh.
Yes, right. They do have
Mm.
limits, some blenders.
That's true. Another thing I really quickly discovered, thanks to my brother, is if you're warming up pasta, especially if it's a tomato sauce, make sure so you can get these covers for bowls and plates and stuff that for the microwave. So when you're cooking something, if it does tend to bubble or slightly explode, it'll splash onto the lid, not the entire inside of the microwave. So you have less cleanup.
Yes.
Learn that pretty quickly.
I forgot to ask you what your level of vision is, Jill. That might be relevant.
Maybe. So I was low vision up until I was 15. So fully blind in the left eye. And then I had quite a bit of vision in the right. So 20/200. And then when I was 15, I lost all my remaining sight. So I have like zero vision now. So yeah.
And did you know how to do a lot of life skills before that? Or like when did you learn all this stuff?
I knew a little bit of stuff. Like I knew the basics was like warming up stuff in the microwave and like those kind of things. But like I was one of 6 kids. So we didn't, and my mom and my dad didn't have a lot of time to teach us like how to cook and stuff. Where my mom was very like, let's just get it done. I was a little too slow for her, I guess, in cooking. And then like even after school snacks and stuff, like I didn't really know how to cook much then. My siblings were doing their own thing, so they didn't really want to teach me or help me out, which was fine. I get it. So I really didn't learn a lot of, I guess cooking wise, I didn't know a lot of that until after I lost my sight.
Right.
And then that's when my vision teacher, who was also my orientation mobility instructor and the life skills instructor for my town, he was 3-in-1 kind of deal. He's a very, very good cook, and he thought life skills was a very important thing for his students to do. So he actually made it part of his like, I guess, core curriculum, I think is what it's called. He actually made that a very big part of it. So when I lost my sight, like I didn't really work with him much until after I lost my sight, because I didn't really need a lot of assistance when I could see. But even for life skills, we did it at least once a week, where we had 2 blocks of school where we just did life skills, whether they're like the basics of like how to cut and like chop things and make juice and smoothies, like I had mentioned earlier. Like he taught me basically from ground zero all the way up to where I am now. So a lot of how I learned it was just through him. And then also as I got older, my mom and my dad kind of had a little bit more time to show me some stuff. So yeah, so I was really grateful for that, because like I said, that's kind of how I got to where I am now with all the life skills.
I'm curious, when you did move to Vancouver from your small town all by yourself, like, was there stuff you actually didn't know yet that you didn't realize you needed to know that you had to learn once you were here?
Yes. Honestly, one of the biggest things that like even to this day doesn't really happen in my small town is compost. We don't compost here because I don't really know why we don't, actually. We're a bit behind the times. But like in Vancouver, the apartment that I had moved into when I first got there, like you could get a fine if you didn't compost.
Right.
And like I didn't know what you could and couldn't compost. Like I didn't know you could compost or put like tea bags or paper towel in the compost bin. Right. I had no idea. I just thought it was like basic food scraps, like eggshells and apple cores and stuff. So that was honestly the biggest one that I was quite like, okay, well, why doesn't everywhere do this? Like, and that was really surprising, because we did like recycling cans and bottles and stuff like that, but never food.
Right.
It all just kind of went into the same garbage can. But yeah, down there, compost was the major one. And then also one that I love is you can get food, like groceries, delivered to your house down there in Vancouver.
Yes.
Or Lower Mainland. And here, like up in my small town, I say up because we're north, we just now have a grocery, like you can order your groceries online, but you still have to go pick them up in your car.
Right.
They don't deliver still. So, and to me, like I know how to go to a grocery store and find like a clerk and get their help, like guide me around the store, help me get my stuff. But for me to carry it home, I could only really carry it in one like on one arm because I needed to use the cane in the other arm. So I felt like really lopsided and awkward, and just, it was so frustrating. And then I found out about an app called Instacart, where you kind of put in like your address and you can select a grocery store like kind of near where you live. And then you can do all your grocery ordering on there, and you can keep like message back and forth with the shopper, I guess they're called. And then so they can like, oh, like they don't have this, but they have this instead. Would you like it? And then they deliver right to your door, and they can bring it all the way inside your house if you want. So
that's so cool.
That was a major one for me, and I've done it for the past. Well, I only found out about it a year ago, but I've used it like crazy ever since. Like I use it all the time.
Can you actually text them halfway through and be like, oh, I forgot, I also want chocolate covered almonds. Can you get those for me?
It's so nice. Yes, you can do that. Exactly.
That's so cool.
It's so, and like like I remember I was ordering a pack of 6 like chicken breasts, and they didn't have a pack of 6, but they had a pack of 10, and they were on sale. And like the only kind of annoying part is you can't really find what's on sale or not on the Instacart app. But the shopper was really nice and told me that this is actually a better deal if you get the pack of 10 because it's on sale.
Oh, cool.
And then I could just froze all the ones I didn't want to use at the time, right? So
awesome.
It's honestly like, and it's so accessible. And you can even like you make a little profile, and you can even say in like the little any other like additional comments or notes, you can say like, I'm visually impaired. Can you please call or text me when you arrive so I know it's you? Like you can do that kind of thing.
Oh, that's so good.
That's my favorite app. Honestly, it's so helpful.
Yeah, like you're the one who told me about that app, and ever since I got it, it really changed like the way I got to grocery shop.
Oh, cool. So you're using it too, Nika?
Yeah. I can't do anything with the ingredients, but I order the ingredients.
Is that like a subtle hint to your family? Make this, please.
Yes. I bought all the groceries. Can you make it, please? That's so funny. But yeah, I like to promote the app, and I like to teach people how to use it, just because, like I said, like I can go to a grocery store, but it's a lot of hassle and just really awkward.
Well, especially right now with COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like when I was still, like I'm back up in Dawson Creek right now, but when COVID first happened and I needed groceries, like I wasn't comfortable going to a store because I didn't expect that they would want to guide me around the store or anything like that. And I wouldn't and I don't know if I'm social distancing from people and vice versa.
Yeah.
So Instacart was a big help there. But again, because everyone had the same kind of thought process of COVID, social distancing, that it actually got a little backed up with the app, and I couldn't get stuff for like 2 weeks. Usually I can get it the same day or like the next day. Because with the Instacart app, you can choose what time and what day.
Right.
So like if I ordered it, like, okay, so it's Monday, I want it Tuesday at 5 p.m. after work or after school. Then yeah, as soon as I got home, it would be there, or I would meet the person at the door. But yeah, with COVID, it kind of put all that, made that a little bit difficult. But
speaking of COVID, I mean, this workshop we're planning this summer, it's going to happen in July and August. It's a 6-week workshop. Of course, would have been better in person, hands-on teaching life skills. But we're going to do this online, and we've kind of come up with some ways to make that work. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So the first one is the life skills, like kind of care package, which will include things like stickers to label your microwave or elastics, those kind of things. So as we're talking about it, you'll have them. And then the hope is that you take those items from the life skills care package and go label your own items around your house. Is kind of the hope with that. And then the other one we're going to do is each week before the session, we are going to send out an email that kind of lists the specific items we want you to have with you during the session, whether it's a kettle or a blender or something like that. So as we're talking about it, you can kind of feel around and check it out and kind of see how it works. So those are kind of the two main ways we're going to make this work, social or distantly, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, it is a challenge for sure, but This also makes it accessible to anyone in the province, which is really exciting. And I think right now we have 5 teens that are already registered. So we only put the word out Friday. So
yeah, that's fast.
I know. I think people need this.
I agree, honestly. Like, I don't know, just it's like I said, blew me away that it's not to me, it should be a mandatory thing that people who are visually impaired or have any other kind of disabilities, to me, it should be something mandatory that they learn in school alongside Braille or O&M or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, it was just important. Such a vital skill that kind of blew me away. That how did I get so lucky being taught this in school? But I know a lot of people only had a few lessons or like they had to push for it, like that kind of thing. Like I had it and it was very easy. Like I didn't have, like, it was pretty much, you're going to do this. I'm like, okay, cool.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think the hard thing is like, you're always told like focus on your academics, and that's kind of what I've had to do. But then it's kind of like, what's the point of being an honor roll student if basically none of it counts when you go out in the real world and can't really do anything?
Yeah. And like my life skills instructor in high school, his entire goal for when his students graduate is he wants you to be a well-rounded individual. So that means academics, like orientation, mobility, life skills, social skills, like all of that. That was his thing. Is he wants you to be a well-rounded, independent person, and that worked out for me. So
yeah, he did good work with you.
Thank you.
That's so true, though. So important to be well.
And like I said, like moving out is something everyone does at one point in their life, right? And like typically a lot, like on average, you kind of do it in your like early 20s, give or take. But if you don't have those life skills, it's going to make it that much harder to, first of all, even just move out for yourself, but also have your family even be semi-comfortable with it.
Ooh, let's talk about parents. Yeah. So your parents must have been worried when you said you were going to move all the way to Vancouver.
Yeah. I remember my mom saying, she's like, what would you do if I said that you couldn't move down there? I'm like, I would still go. And she's like, yeah, I know. That's why I'm helping you out. She knew that I was like determined and probably stubborn enough to do it regardless of what she said. And I believe I was 19 when I moved to Vancouver. And I've been there for the past 4 years, I believe. No. Yeah, 4 or 5 years. Right. And like, but that's the thing, like my mom always kind of jokes, but it's actually true, where she always said that she didn't have time to put me in a bubble, which means she didn't have time to do everything for me. She didn't have time to protect me from everything because, like I had mentioned earlier, I'm one of 6 kids.
Yeah.
And my mom and my stepdad owned a convenience store and like they had a lot going on, right? So she didn't have time to do everything for me and to put me in a bubble, like her and I always say. And I honestly was very grateful for that because she let me figure stuff out for myself. And it did take me, and it still does take me, a lot longer than my siblings to do stuff. Even if it is cooking, laundry, cleaning, even tying my shoes takes me longer than them. But the important fact with all that, it's I can still do it, and they all know I can do it, and they let me do it, right?
Yeah.
And even like
such wise words. Yes.
And even my dad, he was like a single parent. So it was me, my dad, and then my 3 other siblings. For him to cook for 5 people was a lot by himself. So he always got us to help like cut up stuff or grate cheese or whatever, grab him a pot or whatever it was. Like he always kind of got all 4 of us to help him cook because it was a lot for one person. And that's how originally I kind of learned how to cut and chop things, is just because, or even grate cheese, like here's a cheese, here's a grater, here's a plate, go for it. I'm like, okay. And then, but the fun part is you kind of sneak a few pieces here and there.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Right? Oh, I do that all the time, especially baking. When you bake, you have to lick the spoon and the bowl.
Of course.
The best part when you're making cookies, you need to eat a bit of the raw cookie dough.
The dough. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even my dad, like, so he, like, I don't really like fried eggs. I love scrambled eggs. But the rest of my family liked fried eggs, so he'd always make me scrambled. It's like, well, why don't I teach you how to do this? I'm like, sure, okay. So he was the one who taught me how to make my favorite breakfast ever, and it's like the easiest thing. but we had a lot of times here and there where they had the time to teach me. And I was really grateful for that because I don't know, I felt included, first of all, where like my dad, okay, like you grab this, you do this, you do this. Like my dad would give all four of us a certain task for the meal. And like, I felt included. I didn't feel any different than the rest of my siblings, which was a big thing for me because like you're all raised similarly, but having like the blindness or visual impairment, still at times you do feel kind of left out or like different. But by him just like, Jill, come grate the cheese or come cut this up. Like, I thought it was almost really cool. And I always wanted to do it. I never complained because I felt included.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me as well. They never made me feel like I was different. Right? And even if it was just helping with a meal or doing like my task or chore was doing laundry when I was like 8 or 9, like at my dad's house when he was a single parent, that was my chore. So I've done laundry from a young age and like, I don't know, I can do this too. And he knew that. And my mom and stepdad both knew that. So
gives you like a sense of pride too, as a kid, being able to help out and contribute. Right.
And like, sure, it took me a lot longer than the rest of them, but it still got done. So they didn't really care how long it took.
Yeah. Did they have concerns that they didn't know how to teach you how to like scramble an egg, for example? Like,
especially like I said, I was low vision when I was younger. So they weren't as concerned because I could still see a fair amount. Just had to get a little bit closer. Or like I couldn't see the dial, like the numbers on the dial for the washer. So my dad just turned it to where he wanted it. And it's like this way, like it's on the right side of straight or whatever it was. Right?
Yeah, like, pointing at 11 o'clock or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So I did little things like that where even when I could see, I couldn't see all that well. So there's a lot of little tricks like that. But after losing my sight, you could definitely tell it was a big change in what they asked me to help with or the lack thereof. Like they never really asked me to help after that. I'm like, well, why? Like you guys did this before. Why aren't you now? Like I can still do stuff. I just can't see it anymore. Or like my mom would always ask my sister to help and not me. I'm like, we're the same age. We're twins. We both know how to do this stuff, but just because I can't see, they're uncomfortable now, right?
Yeah.
But slowly, like a lot of having a life skills instructor who had worked with blind people with life skills, once they saw what he was teaching me, I think that they kind of eased up a little bit on being so nervous. Especially with knives. They were really terrified of me using knives. Yeah. Especially like big ones or like bigger ones or serrated ones. Yes. It really freaked him out. My dad's like, can you cut up this? But it's a really big knife. I'm like, Dad, it's okay. He's like, no, it's be careful. I'm like, Dad, I'm careful. Like, and I can proudly say to this day, I have never once cut myself with a knife.
Oh, I feel like you should knock on wood or something. Like you just
very proud. I've burned myself, but I've never.
Well, sometimes I think we're more careful, right? Because when you can see, you get careless and you're chopping away. But when you're blind, you do have to sort of every single time you chop, you got to make sure you know what you're doing.
Make sure your finger is safely out of the way. And that's that's honestly a lot of the reason it does take us a little bit longer to do those certain things, because I do believe that we're being slower because we're being more careful. And we know that there's possibly even more of a risk because we can't quite see what we're doing. And that's, I think, at least why we're a little bit slower. It might take a little bit longer. Like even making I made my mom's homemade beef barley soup, and it took me like 4 hours. It takes her like 1. Right. But it was the first time I'd ever made it. And I was like I never made it before on my own. So I was doing it slower to make sure I was doing it the way she would. But just like seeing the difference in time from her to me. But it worked out just like perfectly like
the
hers.
Same in the end, right?
Yeah. And like I had to FaceTime her and show her because I was really proud of it. But it's so funny. But so parents are especially kind of freaked out by knives or anything hot, whether it's like the oven or like hot water, iron, anything like that, right? Which is honestly fair. I get it. But yeah, I don't know. I just was lucky in the sense that my parents let me try it anyways, and they were there if I had any questions or was about to make a mistake. They would kind of jump in.
I think as we're talking here, I'm thinking we should make sure that we give people homework every week during this workshop, and, you know, that they have to actually do a load of laundry and get some help with that, or,
That's a good idea.
make a
Yeah, it's like
smoothie,
keep
or
us accountable.
yeah. And
Yeah.
also for your parents to, you know, you as the participant can tell your parents, this is how I need you to help me with this. Or this is how we were taught we can do this. So they kind of get the idea that
Or
this
even
is
if
possible.
parents want to sit in on the sessions for the 6 weeks and sit there with their kid
and learn right along
learn
with them,
how to do it, like how to, it's because like they'll learn how to teach their kids to do it, right? Like, because like we said, like this Zoom program, like it's only really discussion based, and like teaching life skills for blind or vision impaired people is a lot of hands-on. So to me, it would be really cool to have the parents sit in on the sessions and then help their kids do it in the hands-on aspect. That would be really amazing for me to experience, like have them do that.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Okay, so this is something I've always wondered, because I do have some usable vision. So like with clothes and stuff, I'm able to put together outfits, but how are you able to kind of determine what color things are and what goes with what, and just organizing in general when you do laundry?
Yeah. So like a lot of people, like they'll separate their white clothes, their dark clothes, and then their like colored clothes. I personally just do whites and then everything else because
me too.
But right. So that really helps to have, for at least in my experience, to have 2 different laundry hampers, one for white and then one for colors and everything else. And then as you're like, let's say at night when you're changing into your pajamas, if you're wearing a white t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans, you throw the white t-shirt in the hamper with all the whites and you remember which one it is. And you can even label it so you know, and then your jeans and the other one. So then when you go to do the load of laundry, you don't have to sit there for however long sorting them out. You already kind of have them separated. I have made that mistake and it takes me so long to sort the laundry. But by having 2 different hampers, and as you're changing, just throw whatever color into whatever hamper, like the right hamper, right? That's extremely helpful. Yeah, I also have like what's called a color identifier. You can get, there's apps, but in all honesty, they're very glitchy and they depend on having a lot of light in the room. And if you're fully blind, you don't always know if light's on in the room. So it doesn't really work, but there are handheld ones. They're kind of a little remote with a button or a little switch that you hold up against the article of clothing and it'll announce what color. Some of them are really funny and it's not 100% perfect. Like if you have a black and a dark blue shirt, it might say both, they might both be black, for example, but they're both dark, so it's kind of okay. So the handheld little remote ones work, in my opinion, way better than the apps. And then even just for organizing, like I organize my closet in length of sleeve, whether it's a tank top or a t-shirt or like a long sleeve shirt, I organize it that way. So then you kind of know, okay, in the middle is the long sleeve shirts. So then you can kind of jump to that spot in the closet. So there's a lot of little tricks like that that make like laundry and organizing your clothes a lot easier.
Do you ever hang things that go together?
What do you mean?
Like, I know that I wear this top with this pair of capris or something. So you put them on the same hanger.
I've done that with like I have like a kind of nicer shirt that I wear with like a specific jacket all the time. So I'm just like, instead of hanging the jacket over here with my other jackets, why not just put them together?
Right. Yeah.
And like, I've made one mistake with that where I had this dress I was looking for and couldn't find it for the life of me. Like, I know it's here. I know it's in the closet. But whatever I was doing, I put it in the wrong spot in the closet. So that I couldn't find it for like months, and then I finally found it. So there's a few hit and misses, but there's just so many like little tricks and tips of laundry and clothes and that kind of stuff that, like I said, makes everything just so much easier. And then you can find your clothes yourself, and you can kind of like figure out, okay, like this shirt will work with these pants or whatever. Like you kind of get an idea of what you like to put together and how to organize it after a while.
So you are also planning on doing some private freelance stuff. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I originally had the idea, actually before the Zoom program of doing it, and I was just talking to Shawn about her, getting some kind of her opinions and some advice on the freelance part, and that's how this whole life skills Zoom program popped up. So that's really cool. But the life skills is just all freelance, just by me from my house where everything's already accessible and labeled. And I'm planning on starting it up in September, where anyone who's interested, just through word of mouth, then I'm eventually going to create a Facebook page kind of promoting this freelance life skills. So then whoever's interested will have like a kind of first call, like phone call, and we'll figure out what they know, what they don't know, and what they want to know. And then we'll make a kind of a list and like a game plan, lesson plan. And then they can sign up for however many lessons. And I have certain deals for certain things. So like, for example, like if you sign up for 3 lessons of cooking, I'll buy the first round of groceries, like that kind of stuff. So I'm starting that up in September is my plan. And then the nice thing with freelance is that it works with both mine and the person's schedule. So if every second Saturday works better for both of us, then perfect. So that's kind of what the plan for that is. There's going to be a lot more details on the Facebook page, probably near the end of August. So that'll be coming soon. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you.
Definitely
really excited for that, actually.
Yeah. For more information on our independent living skills workshop this summer, you can definitely check that out on the Blind Beginnings website at blindbeginnings.ca. And as Jill gets started with her freelance work, I'm sure we can share some info about that too. Thanks so much for
great.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being with us today, Jill.
Yeah.
And thanks for co-hosting with me, Nika.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's been fun. I'm super excited for this workshop to get started.
Yeah, and the first one's on July 16th. So
that's right. Yes. So every Thursday afternoon for 6 consecutive weeks in July and August. So yeah, if you haven't already registered, do it now.
Definitely. I'm really excited for this program. It'll be really interesting just to see everyone's experience from it. And it's just really something really fun and really different that I'm happy that we're able to do through Zoom because of COVID. So
yes. I'm your host, Shawn Marcellet. Join us next time for Limitless, the Blind Beginnings podcast.
For more information on Blind Beginnings and its mission to inspire and support children and youth who are blind or partially sighted and their families, visit www.blindbeginnings.ca.